I'm on vacation in beautiful Ventura, California, and I've made a stop at Xtreme. It's called Xtreme Marine. Let's take a look inside and see what they got. Well, when you first walk in, the first thing you notice is a lot of beautiful coral. And I'm thinking, okay, this shop is saltwater, and the marine is really the key word here. Just everywhere you look, there were just beautiful examples of both fragments and large corals, soft corals, and all of them looking beautiful, vibrant, and just something that if you were a keeper of corals, this store would just be just a real bonanza for you. Sea anemones, clownfish, and a very good selection of saltwater fish as well. I mean, I was just very impressed. But then I turn the corner and I see this gorgeous, very large freshwater tank, planted and scaped and full of, rainbows and other community fish. And it was just gorgeous. And I started to have faith that this actually was a freshwater, that they actually did have some good freshwater selection. So as I walked deeper into the store, I saw beautiful discus like the ones you see here. Again, a very nicely scaped tank with live plants. It had several examples of nano tanks throughout the shop. Seem to be very popular. These tropheus with the red on the top of their, along the dorsal, just a beautiful, beautiful tropheus. The cichlid, unfortunately, the cichlid selection was somewhat limited. I suspect that I caught them between stocking, and I'll probably have to come back if I want to see a greater selection of the kind of cichlids I want. I was really looking for something large that I can put into that 150, and I didn't really run across anything that that I felt that I really had to have right now. And they had, your usual selection, some Buna, some OBs, some common cichlids, and a couple oddballs, a couple things that you don't see too often, like these guys here, very pretty. They had some shellies. I know some of my friends are into shellies. They have a very interesting social order, and the way they have their young in the shells and protect the shells is very interesting. Of course, they had the electric yellows, the labs. They had these sort of brainiac goldfish with giant heads. I don't know how these fish evolve, but not something I'm into really. But more shellies. Good selection of shellies. Not something I'm into at this point. A planted nano tank. Oh, this one maybe is more like 20 gallons, maybe more than what you would call a nano tank. But you can see it's just, the scape on it is just absolutely beautiful. When you walk into a shop and you see them taking the time to put in plants and rocks and try and make a presentation, it just tells you a little bit about the shop, that they care. When you just see aquarium after aquarium of just gravel, and dirty, dirty glass, that's not a good sign. This veil on this angelfish is just gorgeous. They had some albino Congo tetras in there, very pretty, as well as some of your traditional Congo tetras. Just a beautiful fish, certainly a fish that I would own if I had this type of tank. And again, the scape, the rocks, the plants, very pretty. It's a little oddball, not sure what this guy is, very pretty. They had a nice selection of guppies. It seems like every store I go into has a different strain or line of guppies. In this store, there was a lot of yellow and orange, which I thought was very, very pretty. These fish are very interesting. Almost looks like a little bit of a goby, and they had some pea puffers. I think at some point I'd like to get a puffer. Another one of those oddball fish. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. All I know is that he's 40 bucks. He also had some firemouths in there with him. Those firemouths can get pretty big. I think once they start to mature and put on size, they're going to have to be in a tank by themselves. Another oddball fish. I think this is one that gets pretty large. So as you can see, the selection in freshwater was actually much more than I anticipated after running first into all the salt and corals. This is another tank, about a 150 gallon they had towards the back of the store. Very pretty, these sort of white tip, almost like flagtails. Very pretty fish. They had a it looked like a Chinese algae eater just going to town on that rock, along with some cory cats. And again, some pretty plants. This albino pleco is really pretty. They also had a nice selection of bala sharks. People have suggested I put bala sharks and silver dollars in with my cichlids. Not something I'm going to be moving on too quickly. They also had another very large tank with some very nice wood in it, and it had some nice gouramis, beautiful shades of red and orange. They also had a very nice selection of supplies, gravel and decorations, medications, foods, water conditioners, just about anything that you would need to either maintain an aquarium or to start one up. They had it all. They're very, very well stocked across a wide variety of products, as you can see. They had a line of food called Sarah, which I've been looking into for quite some time. I think it comes out of Germany. Suppose it's backed by a lot of research. Usually it's pretty expensive, but I picked up a jar for about 11 bucks. And when you read the ingredients on it, it's pretty legit. It's all good stuff. And apparently these guys put a tremendous amount of science into what they include in their food. And this is very popular, I believe, in Europe. And with some of the German breeders, they use this Sarah product. So I thought I'd pick some up and mix it into what I feed my fish currently and see what happens. Well, that was a really cool shop. I liked it. I'm going to get home and acclimate what I picked up. And if you're ever in the Ventura area, be sure to check out Xtreme Marine. You can see their sign right here. And if you're wondering what I picked up, like I mentioned, there really wasn't any fish in the shop that I felt I needed to have. But on the way out, I just happened to ask the guy if he had any shrimp. And he did. He had some very large shrimp. And I went ahead and picked up 3 of those guys. And you can see them here. Oh, somewhere between, I guess, maybe 2 and 3 inches. You know, pretty robust bamboo shrimp. Love the patterns on their body. And, you know, they'll be dropped in the sump. And they can just kind of run around in there and have fun. And so I've added 3 more of those. So I thank you for tuning in and joining me on this little excursion in Ventura, California. As you can see, it's a beautiful place. That's the Ventura Pier. And at the base of it, they serve the world's best fish tacos. Please don't tell my fish I said that. And it's a great beach and definitely worth visiting. And be sure to rate, share, and sub. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that bell, and that way you'll get notifications whenever I drop a video. All right? I appreciate you stopping by, and that's it for me from Ventura.